Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I'd like to begin by welcoming all of you to the Islamic Center of Orlando. Just to introduce myself, if you have not recognized me, I'm still Hafiz Talib. Today I'm in my cricket attire. Today is the cricket day, so I'm here since Fajr actually. So Alhamdulillah, we are here on a very short notice, I would say. But for a very, very important session, I'd like to thank Shahzad Ahmed for doing this voluntarily to benefit our community. I know many of you have, in fact all of you must have questions regarding immigration issues, and he is the most competent person I think in Orlando to answer all of your questions, inshallah. So I'd like to thank Shahzad for coming, like always, and helping the community out, and may Allah bless him. And on my left is my old student Yazen, Abdin. He is a lawyer himself, and 2 years ago, when he graduated from a law school, I introduced him to Shahzad, and now he's working for Shahzad. So I'd like to thank him for volunteering his time to help the community. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless us, and may Allah help us live peacefully in this country. And may Allah, protect all of us from all kinds of troubles. So with these words, I'd like to hand this over to Shahzad, inshallah.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. And I want to thank you, Hafiz Tariq, and ICO, MACCO, and everybody who made this event possible. Also, several people I need to recognize, and I will recognize again and again. The Moroccan American Chamber, thanks to them for helping getting the word out and organizing this event, because this is an event, the changes that are happening, they affect a lot of people. And so we wanted to share our tips and solutions for dealing with these changes with everybody. Also, Brother Anwar, Brother Dean, so many people who contributed, and Brother Anwar, I know he has been here since this morning, so thank you so much. And you were very conscientious about the whole thing, the whole process. He texted me a picture of the whole room this morning, showing me that it's all set up. He didn't have to do that, but he went, the extra mile in getting all this type of stuff done. Also, Sister Nuran, everybody who made this possible, Sister Fatima, anybody I'm forgetting, I apologize. Also, Miss Yasmin Noor, Ms. Bushra, and other people of the MACC, who were involved in putting this program together. I think we'll start with a short video. The video actually tells you about some of your rights, about how to conduct yourself during screening, during searches, airport screening, and what if your home is being searched. So we'll start out with that, because that will actually answer many of your questions about what to do. And then from there, we're going to have a nice PowerPoint, And then we will also do questions and answers, very important. We want to do questions and answers because this is all about you. This is all about you today. We want to help you. And I know a lot of you have many questions. Inshallah, we will get to those. So Brother Umar, if we could start with that video, please.
Those that engage in criminal acts must be stopped and brought to justice. But policing strategies have changed. Increasingly, law enforcement is casting a wide net, reaching innocent people who have nothing to do with terrorism. How would you feel if you or your loved one, who was innocent, was interrogated, arrested, or even deported as a result of these new tactics? Lawyers with Muslim advocates have dealt with many cases, like the ones in the two examples you're about to see, and have developed tips to help protect you and your family. Let's take a look at one of the most common scenarios. Knock, knock. Who's there? Yeah.
Sultan? Assalamu alaikum. Is that legal? We just got a few questions. We're out meeting community members, talking to people. Not in any trouble or anything. Nothing to be worried about.
Beautiful home. This was in Iran. And how long have you been here in the States?
10 years now. Maybe to visit all? Every year. Grandparents live there.
Very interesting president, what do you say? What do you think of him?
Seems to speak his mind. How's your family doing? Do they like living under the current regime? They're fine.
Is it difficult for them?
But sometimes with political matters. Well, we know you're involved in the community here. You're a member of the Muslim Student Association. Now you're the treasurer. What kind of activities do you organize? Well, we're playing intramural soccer, barbecues at the beach. Do you know someone by the name of Keon Amini? Did you ever see him at your MSA meetings?
Yes, I think he came to some of our meetings, but I haven't seen him in some time. I think he graduated about a year ago.
Yes, we hear he works for the Iranian government now. How long have you known him?
Oh, about 3 years.
And how often do you talk to Keon?
Yeah.
Never? Are you sure?
Yes.
You haven't seen him since he graduated?
No.
No?
No, I haven't seen or talked to him in months.
Ali, are you aware that lying to a federal officer is a crime?
Oh, that was painful. Now, I know what a lot of you are wondering. Why would an FBI agent be interested in me? I've done nothing wrong. I have nothing to hide. Besides, I want to help law enforcement fight crime too. Well, it's not that simple. Law enforcement sometimes engage in fishing expeditions to sniff out any hint of illegal activity. The government's list of suspicious organizations, speech, activities, and materials changes every day, so it's hard to know what might be okay one day and suspicious the next. Here are some important things to keep in mind. First, if you are contacted by law enforcement, don't answer any questions beyond giving your name and consult an attorney immediately. Remember, the FBI investigates crimes, which include lying by omission. Funny enough, they can lie to you legally, so talking without an attorney is very risky. Sometimes having a lawyer is enough to deter law enforcement from contacting you again. Number 2, don't let law enforcement into your home without a search warrant. If they have one, look carefully to see what the court has allowed them to search and what items they are allowed to seize. Ask what the visit is about. Take their business cards and tell them your lawyer will contact them. Remember, you don't have to answer any questions, warrant or not. Be polite and also make sure members of your family and household do the same. Finally, the freedom to express your opinions, join groups, and practice your religion as you wish is an American value. So is knowing your rights. Do both. Now let's watch Ali do it right.
Mrs. Sultan?
Yes.
Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamualaikum.
Is Ali home?
Yes, just a minute.
Hello.
Hello, Ali. Mind if I step inside and ask you a few questions?
What's this about? I'm sorry, who are you?
My name is Special Agent Martinez. This is Special Agent Renault. We're with the FBI. You're not in any trouble at all. We're just visiting the community and getting to know some people. Could we come inside and just ask you a few routine questions?
What sort of questions?
It's no big deal. We can talk out here in front of your neighbors if you like, but you might be more comfortable if we come inside.
I would like to talk to my lawyer first. If you could just please give me your business cards, I'll have him contact you.
You want a lawyer? You really want to take it to that level? It just complicates things. If you talk now, we can make this real simple, quick and painless. Besides, you got nothing to hide, right?
Do you have a search warrant?
No, we don't have a warrant, but it would be in your best interest to do this the easy way.
I have nothing to hide, sir. Please just give me your business cards and I'll have my attorney contact you.
Well done! Now let's take a look at another scenario. This time at the airport. A couple returning to the US after overseas travel.
I really hope this doesn't take as long as it did last time. I'm telling you, it's your passport photo.
It'll be fine, don't worry about it.
Mr. County, I'd like to ask you a few questions. Would you follow me, please? Do you have any electronic devices in that bag?
Yeah,
Pull it out, please. So, you're an engineer.
yeah, I work at Cisco.
Looks like you've been traveling for some time now. What countries did you visit and what was the nature of your trips?
Yeah, my wife and I went to Pakistan.
Who'd you visit when you were there?
Well, my parents are in Karachi and my wife's family's in Lahore.
Who else did you see when you were there?
Tons of relatives and family and some friends.
Are you carrying any vegetables or fruits or any other prohibited items into the country, Mr. Khan?
No, not at all.
In your hometown of Houston, do you attend a mosque?
No, I don't.
Did you donate any money to any overseas charities?
Yeah, for the tsunami in 2004, and there's a women's organization in Pakistan that we donated to, and there's also there's a charity in Bosnia.
Mr. Khan, I'm going to need to see your cell phone SIM card and I also need a password to your laptop. And if you would, please put your password right here.
What? Do I have to?
Mr. Khan, you're at the border and we have the right to inspect your property. Password, please.
I don't see what personal files have to do with any of this.
Mr. Khan, we also have the right to confiscate your property. Password, cell phone, and SIM card, please.
It's ridiculous.
I'll be back in a moment. Thanks.
Excuse me, how much longer is this going to take?
Yeah, I can't say. It's taken a while to download those files.
We've been here for 3 hours already.
You know what, my friend? I've been there. Customs and Border Protection agents do have a right to search your bags, ask you questions to verify your identity, and ensure you're not bringing prohibited items into the United States. But what happens when the search and questioning go beyond the scope, and you're being asked detailed information about loved ones overseas or about your religious or political views? What can you do? We know it's impractical to ask for a lawyer at the airport, so here's what you should remember the next time you travel overseas. Number one, be prepared. Especially if you've been questioned in the past. Pack knowing that anything you have with you could be searched and even seized, including digital cameras, cell phones, laptops, and address books. Back up your files before you leave. Make sure your family or friends have your exact arrival information. If you're a non-citizen, keep in mind that you could be denied entry, so consider talking to an immigration attorney before you leave. Number 2, ask why you're being selected for additional questioning or searches. Racial or religious profiling is improper, but agents do question people traveling from high security risk countries. If you feel you're being treated unfairly, stay cool and ask to speak with the supervisor, firmly but politely. Number 3, if agents ask about your religious practice or political views, calmly state that you don't think these are appropriate questions. Ask for a supervisor and repeat that you're willing to answer questions about your identity and whereabouts, but that religious and political beliefs are protected under the First Amendment of our Constitution. Finally, keep a record of what's happening. Ask if any of your files have been duplicated and get a receipt for any property that's seized. Also, write down the names, departments, and badge numbers of each agent who questioned you or searched your belongings so that you can file a complaint later, if necessary. Now, let's watch the cons try that again.
Mr. Khan, are you carrying any fruits, vegetables, or any other prohibited items into the country?
No, not that I'm aware of, no.
Okay. In your hometown of, let's see, Houston, which mosque do you attend?
Sir, I'm a US citizen. I'm giving you my passport. And I don't understand why we're being held. And quite frankly, I'm uncomfortable.
Okay, let me ask you this then. Have you donated to any overseas charities?
Again, sir, I'm more than happy to answer questions about who I am and where I've come from. But asking me questions about my religious beliefs, I'm kind of uncomfortable with that.
Okay.
It's been a long flight and we've been waiting here for hours. I'd like to speak to the supervisor.
Mr. Khan, my supervisor is not available, but I will need to inspect your phone, your SIM card, and I need the password to your laptop. So if you would, could you please give me the password and pass those items to me as soon as possible?
First, I'd like your name and your supervisor's name, and the name of the person who's going to be with my property when it's out of my sight.
Chances are you just saw some of yourself in one of the characters you just met. Now it's up to you to make sure your family and friends know their rights. Finally, the lawyers and Muslim advocates are interested in collecting stories like the ones you've just seen. Share the experience you've had with you.
Hey, assalamu alaikum again. So I hope that you found that video helpful. It provided some tips on how to conduct yourself, what your rights are during various types of searches. I also want to thank each and every one of you for showing up and coming. And also, please note that it's not just Muslims who are here. We also have some non-Muslims as well. And we want to be polite and respectful toward everybody's feelings. Okay? So we'll start with that. We're getting the PowerPoint up. While that is being set up, but there you go, we got it. How about all these changes that are happening, huh? Every day there's some news. Yes, I can travel. No, I cannot travel. So we're going to see this because as these executive orders, they work their way through the courts because there are a lot of lawsuits. You're going to see changes. You're going to see different rulings. So we're going to talk about the state of the law as it is right now. And also we're going to give you solutions on how to possibly handle your travel, not only travel, your immigration cases. We want to discuss some of that too, because this thing is impacting in many different ways. But one thing to say the least, never has there ever been a better time to love your lawyer. How about that, right? That's for sure. So today you're getting 2 for the price of 1. Yazen and we're going to tag team this, and I'll get started. So let me get that clicker so I can get this thing moving. And would it help to turn that? There you go. Can I click it from there? Yep, this one is on. That is very good. So let's start from there. Oh, is it going to reach from here? I don't know. So do I need to bring the keyboard? Oh, I need the range there. So I can work from there. That's okay. Oh, no problem. This is fun. But I do it standing up, so I don't want to see it. It's not moving. While you're getting it, Yazen and we work at Nejame Law. I've been a partner there for over 8 years. Alhamdulillah, I've been practicing for over 17 years. When 9/11 happened, ironically, I was at an immigration office representing one of my clients in Miami. Okay, and I was watching right after the planes hit the towers and the smoke coming in. We were watching the waiting room. And I had just come out of the interview, and I couldn't believe what had happened. Since then, everything changed. All right? And I had to learn to deal with some of this stuff that's going on. The policy changes, okay? The community biases, all these things, you know, how to deal with it. I had to learn how to do that. And so the good thing is that what we're seeing now, some of the profiling and so on, I've dealt with it before. This is not the first time, okay? So inshallah we can do it again, and we can do it together as a community. We can do it with our judicial process. I do file lawsuits. That's one thing I learned to do after 9/11, when a lot of the Muslim and Arab communities' cases were delayed. You know, I began filing lawsuits to remedy those delays, and alhamdulillah, almost all of them were approved after I filed those lawsuits. And I still do that to this day, you know. So we have to use the judicial process. Second, we have to work this through the political process. Identify those representatives, you know, who work with us. But last week, alhamdulillah, you know, we had Ahmed, he had Congresswoman Val Demings come over here, and we had a community gathering. So she supports us in our cause. She believes that the executive order is discriminatory and it is not just. So we have to work with our political partners. Third, we have to work with our community. Okay, many of the community members, even non-Muslims and even other minorities, you know, they believe that this executive order is unjust. Okay, so we have some of those community members today. I'm going to have at least one of them speak later on today in our Q&A session. So this is what we do. Nejame Law has been a supporter and an advocate of the Arab and Muslim community for a long time, and the Pakistani community, Indian community, for a long time. You know, some of you know that Mark Nejame, he represented Jesse Malley, you know, when that incident happened with his store. So Mark Nejame, you know, he's born here, but he's of Lebanese descent. And so we have, mashallah, a good group of lawyers, and now we're joined by Yazen. He comes from a respectable Palestinian family. His Arabic is impeccable. And, you know, we've got his dad also over here. So we've got his family supporting him. But he's an excellent lawyer himself, and he's been on the news already. He just joined us last year, and He's already on the news, so feel free to Google him up. So that's who we are. We have about 18 lawyers, and we have diversity. We speak many languages. Let's see if this thing can yeah, we speak Spanish, Portuguese, Arabic, Urdu, Hindi, and more. So we've got Punjabi also. So we've got a lot of languages covered, and we do have a full-service law firm. We cover many areas of the law. So that's for the introduction about who we are. Now let's start with a discussion about executive orders. What is an executive order? Attorney Yazen will tell us.
So an executive order is an order signed by the president, and as many of you know, there's 3 branches of government. The executive branch is where the president sits. So an executive order is an order signed by the president, and it has the effect of a law. Although it did not go through Congress as a bill, it's very similar in that it has the same power as a law does. Are they constitutional and are they final? So the court decides, and that's what we are seeing right now. So we actually saw something similar with DAPA a couple years ago in 2015, right? It worked its way through the court system when President Obama signed that executive order, and that one fell through. And now we are seeing the same thing with the executive order that the Trump administration has signed. It will work its way through the court system, and we will find out, probably the Supreme Court, I imagine it'll work its way there.
Yeah, so a quick question. I thought the Congress had to make the laws. What is the president doing here, making laws?
So the Constitution actually gives the president a very specific power to create laws in very specific circumstances. They're not exactly laws, but again, they have the force of law, and those are what executive orders are.
Okay, very good.
And they cannot conflict with laws that Congress created.
Thank you, Yazen. So let's talk about the executive order. It has various parts. There have already been 3 executive orders that have been passed, all right, which are related to immigration. And there are a few more in the pipeline. Yeah, he's not done yet. There are more coming, and we'll keep you updated about those. But they're basically 3, and we're going to talk about some of these orders. We're going to run you through the first 2. And I think the third one is the one which is called, quote-unquote, Muslim ban, okay? So we're going to spend a little bit more time on the third one, but let's run you through the first 2. Yes, and you want to do that?
So the first 2 executive orders were signed on the same day. It was a Wednesday 2 weeks ago. The first one is basically about enhancing the public safety of the interior of the United States. What does that mean exactly? Well, generally, people that enter illegally are removed from the United States. So President Trump, in his executive order, expanded that to include not only criminal violators, people who were convicted of crimes and security threats, but also even people who were just charged with a crime or just arrested for a crime. So he expanded what that meant exactly. So part of the executive order is to hire 10,000 additional ICE ERO officers.
Okay. ERO are basically enforcement and removal operations. Okay, that's what ERO means. The ICE is Immigration and Customs Enforcement. So this executive order basically has to do with protecting the public in the U.S. from the people in the U.S. by deporting the criminal and felons and terrorist people. So that's what this order is basically about. The one thing concerning about this is the Section 287. Section 287 is that part of the law which says that the DHS can delegate the enforcement authority to local police officers to arrest illegal aliens. Imagine that. Many jurisdictions, many states, many police departments, they do not like this Section 287. Why? Because it hurts community relations. It prevents the police officers from gaining the trust of their local community. They want the community members to be able to come to them without fear of being deported. So But this executive order is saying that these ICE officers, the police officers, they can enforce the immigration law. So that is something that is concerning. So just something quickly I wanted to mention there. And this order also calls to enforce the deportation orders. So people who have deportation orders, this calls for going ahead and getting them deported. And we've got the customs. Tell us about protecting the border. How are we going to protect the border according to this order?
So the second executive order is about border security and immigration enforcement improvements. So this is the one about the big wall along the southern border of the United States. We've heard about that during the election, and now there's an executive order signed. So the president would like to construct detention facilities at or near the southern border, so that way as soon as people try to cross the border, they are captured and detained right there. He wants to assign asylum officers to immigration detention facilities so that they can do a credible fear determination right there at the border. So constructing the wall, that is expected. There's slightly different estimates out there, but it's expected to cost about $25 billion, and it looks like us, the taxpayers, will foot that bill. It limits humanitarian parole authority to only on a case-by-case basis. Anything we want to add about the wall?
No, I think that's pretty much it. And
Hire additional 5,000 Border Patrol agents.
okay, now let's get to the real meat of why we're here today.
So the third executive order, this is the one about protecting the nation from terrorist attacks by foreign nations. This is the one we call the Muslim ban order. This is the one that's affected many of us and our families and friends. So this order is very vague and broad. I'd like to start by saying that. It covers several things, however, it doesn't go into great detail, which is what's caused a lot of the chaos, because the sub-agencies have not fully understood how to approach this and how to enforce this. So one of the parts is about suspension of visas and entries. So there's 7 countries listed, right? Iran, Iraq, Libya, Yemen, Somalia, Sudan, Syria. I think that's all 7. So those 7 countries, the order says that all visas, whether you already have it or you're going to apply for it, you will not be able to get it. And if you currently have it, it's supposed to be void. Okay? So that's the first part of the order. The second part of the order is about refugees. So it is supposed to suspend refugees entering the United States for 120 days. For Syrians, the suspension is indefinite. So Syrian refugees are barred indefinitely. Refugee admission is suspended for 120 days for the 6 other countries. Extra screening of applicants and extra enforcement at the borders.
A couple of comments on this order. First of all, this order is very, very broad and very vague. Okay, so like Yazen said, that even the customs were grappling with how to implement some of these provisions. They were confused. Does it apply to permanent residents? Does it apply or does it apply only to first-time immigrant visa holders? And we know it does apply to non-immigrant visas for those countries. So there was a lot of confusion. And we're going to talk about some of the vagueness. And we're going to take questions from you about, does it apply to me and so on. Another thing that is concerning about this is that it says other countries may be added. So we're getting questions from the community of nationals who do not belong to any of those 7, asking, could I have trouble? I'll give you an example of some of the vague stuff that's in here, okay? So it says people from those named countries, right? From. What does that mean? Does that mean only nationals? Or does it even mean people who are not nationals of those 7, but just traveled there? So there's a lot of vagueness, and then what's happening is that the White House is trying to put clarifications out oh, it includes these people, not these. The customs is putting out advisories, and this is how we're interpreting this. So, and then there are lawsuits being filed. And so the court is saying also that, no, this doesn't apply, this doesn't apply. So from day to day, we have different advisories every week. So when somebody asks me, should I travel, I'm planning on traveling in March. Or somebody, my family member plans on coming in March. I'm saying, ask me on February 28th, because it's not clear what the provisions will be at that time, but I'm telling you based on what is happening today. So as of today,
What about USCIS adjudication?
Yeah, let's talk about the USCIS adjudication. So there's another part of the order that is vague. The section which poses the 90-day ban, okay, when you look at the beginning, the initial section of it, it talks about banning entries, okay, and visas, and other immigration benefits. So the title of that section seems to bar everything for these 7 nationals. However, when you read the following sentences supporting that title, then it refers to banning the entries, but it does not specifically say that it is suspending visas, adjustment of status, citizenship, adjustment of status, change of status. It is not saying that. However, the Department of Homeland Security has run with the title of it, and the title of the ban, and is saying it is basically applying these suspensions all across the board to all of these benefits. Until there is this court order, just from yesterday, or the day before, which halts the ban for now, okay? But the Trump administration plans on appealing and getting a stay from an appeals court. So right now the balance has tilted in our favor, but in a few days it may tilt the other way. So this is going to be like that for a while, a seesaw, until it finally gets resolved, maybe by the Supreme Court. I will let you know that our firm has filed a couple of lawsuits, for individuals who are affected. And so we're pursuing, whatever legal remedy that we can for our community members in this. Back to you guys.
Let me mention a little caveat in there. So there's an exception in this executive order that mentions religious minorities in these 7 countries. So we know these 7 countries are predominantly Muslim, right? So in the executive order, it mentions that if you're a minority living in these countries, you may seek refuge. You may apply for refugee status.
With regard to that, something very interesting. So this provision, which favors religious minorities, it's going to tend to favor Christians, and I represent, as a human rights attorney, and so does Yazen, we represent people who have been persecuted. Under the Refugee Convention, which the U.S. is a signatory of, a person may seek asylum if they have been persecuted on the account of race, religion, nationality, political opinion, or because they belong to a particular social group. Okay? The Refugee Convention does not create classifications of different religions. It does not say that we're going to favor certain minorities over others. Okay? And alhamdulillah, we represent all minorities. We represent Christians, we represent Shia, we represent Sunni, regardless of Hindus, whatever. Okay? Because this is a human issue. And so we represent everybody, but this order seems to want to favor Christians more, and this is not what the Refugee Convention was meant for. So that's our opinion on that. Airport screening. We did see the video on the airport screening. Let's go through some of that, shall we? Can you throw a few more bullet points in there and run together? Okay. All right. U.S. citizens have a right to an attorney at the airport. But what about non-U.S. citizens? Okay, do they have a right to an attorney? They have a limited right to an attorney at the airport. A limited right. Okay. They must answer questions about their immigration status. Okay, where they've been. So the immigration-related questions. But you are protected. You have the First Amendment right. You don't have to answer questions about your religion. Okay, how many times you pray, which mosque do you go to, which charitable organizations have you donated to. You don't have to answer those questions. You have protection in that. What about searches? Okay, one more. Okay. With searches, a lot of the females, they have a concern because they wear the headscarf. Okay, and with the headscarf, you can require that they do the wand at the airport to see if there's anything in there. So you can let them do that. If they're still not satisfied, okay, you can request a private search in a private room. You can request a female officer. Okay, so you can take off your scarf in private. So if it gets to that level, you can request that. You do have the protection.
Do the officers have the right to search our belongings?
Definitely, they do. They do have a right to search your belongings, just like we saw in the video. My suggestion, as far as handling your belongings, is take what you need. Be prepared for the search. That you are going to be searched. So, and of course, they can check whether you brought anything that's not permissible, like fruits, vegetables, and things like that. Okay. It's okay. There you go. If you are questioned by an immigration agent, this is a big one. Okay. If you are questioned by an immigration agent, you never want to give false information. That's a big one. Because if you give false information to an immigration officer, guess what? You can be barred from adjusting your status. Or if you are going to apply for citizenship, then that misrepresentation can be used against you. It can bar you from proving good moral character. Good moral character is one of the requirements for naturalization. So never give false information. You do have to give your identity. Of course, you give them the basic information, but don't give any false information. And Yazen, what should you never do?
You should never sign any document without reading what it is. So they cannot force you to sign anything without your consent. So we've heard that they've been putting certain forms in front of people with green cards in particular. And the form basically asks people to voluntarily surrender their green card. And some people have signed it unknowingly. You are not forced to sign that. They cannot make you sign that. So please do not sign forms without reading and understanding what it says.
Okay, so what if you're stopped in the context of outside? Oh, I'm messing this up. Please take it. Yeah, you can go a little bit more. Yeah, that's fine. So if you're stopped by an officer, okay, outside of the airport context, how do you conduct yourself? How do you treat yourself? Well, you have some responsibilities. You also have some rights. So let's go over some responsibilities first. Okay. First thing is be calm and be polite. Do not start backing out at the officer. Don't say, oh, you're profiling, you're discriminating, and this is because I'm a Muslim. No. Calm down, be polite. Okay. And again, don't give false information. All right. And do not resist the arrest. Never resist the arrest. With regard to an arrest. By the way, can somebody tell me when are you arrested? When does an arrest take place?
When a search warrant has been given to you?
When a search warrant has been given? Who else?
When you're handcuffed.
When you're put in handcuffs, you are definitely arrested, yes?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
there's two things to look for an arrest: custody and interrogation. If both those things are there, that means you're under arrest. Right?
Yeah.
You agree with me?
Yeah. The definition of arrest is when you are no longer free to move. So if an officer starts questioning you, you ask, am I free to leave? If the answer is no, it means you are in arrest.
Even if the handcuffs are on.
They don't have to show you a search warrant?
Warrant is needed when they want to, that's one of the ways. One way of arresting you, you're talking about the basis for an arrest or a search. Probable cause, okay, or a search warrant. Now let me answer that as well. What if the officer doesn't have probable cause, they don't have a warrant? How can they arrest you? Can they search your house? Let's say knock knock, somebody comes, okay? The officer comes and they want to search your house. They don't have a warrant, they don't have probable cause. How can they search your house? Tell me. What is the third thing? Either probable cause or warrant, or what is the third thing?
They look around and you say, yeah, come on, no problem.
Yeah, there you go. Consent. Consent. So say no. If you say, okay.
Can I ask you a question? If I'm driving on the road and I'm stopped by a cop,
Yeah.
for whatever reason, I went through a red light and stopped, but I'm just doing fine and speeding maybe.
Speeding.
My question is, if he stops me,
Yeah.
does he have the right to search my car?
If there is reasonable suspicion that there might be something in there. So then we get into, they could, but then it may also go to court where you say, there was no reasonable suspicion, he just plain profiled me. So you may have some defenses, right? We're going to do questions and answers later. Let's get through this, because I know everybody has a lot of questions. So we're going to run through it quick, and we'll take everybody's questions. So I think we pretty much covered that. Right to a lawyer, of course, if you're under arrest. Yeah, so these are some tips. If your rights are violated, you don't become rude with the officer. What you do is you take down the name, the badge number, okay? You file a complaint, talk to a lawyer about dealing with the situation. Recent updates. So we're almost at the question phase. So tell me, some of these things that are happening. There are 3 executive orders that are pending on the president's desk. All right. As the former regional vice chair of the American Immigration Lawyers Information Association, I get some of this information, and also Yazen is a member as well. We get this information. We know there are 3 executive orders pending on the president's desk. They include certain things, like we're going to be more careful with the H-1B cases. With H-1B is the degree for those professionals, and a lot of people from India take advantage of that. They come and do IT jobs. Then they have a person, Ahmed is raising his hand and saying that was one thing. So they're saying that they're going to be looking to protect American jobs more. L1s, they're going to do site inspections. That's the intra-company transferring people who have their business overseas and they have a branch in the U.S. and they're transferring. L1s are good. They create jobs. They hire people, but the plan is to inspect those places. And then the question is, what's going to happen to fiancé visas? Are they going to become more hard on fiancé visas? We want to see. I have not seen an executive order related to that specifically, but let's see what happens with that. Also, the plan is to rescind DACA, the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals. The plan is to rescind that, and that's where President Obama gave work authorizations to people who came to the U.S. while they were young, and allowed them to stay. And so, we liked the executive orders when they were in our favor, right? When President Obama was passing them, we liked it. Now, we don't like it. We don't like these orders. So that's what he's going to do. Yes.
Provisional waiver.
Okay, I think that's about it on our end. Some of that other stuff is extra. The provisional waiver is, for the waiver of the 3 or 10-year bar for people who want to leave the United States to come back as permanent residents. That provisional waiver, we don't know if it's going to be around that soon. Okay, so without further ado, we do want to start with the questions and answers. Okay. Before we begin with the Q&A, there are 2 warnings I must give. One is that, generally when you ask an attorney a question, a legal question, then there is confidentiality. You enjoy confidentiality. But if you ask it in public, obviously you are waiving the confidentiality, right? But we are happy to get your questions and answer if you choose to waive your confidentiality. The second warning I must give you is that once a person asked an attorney, sir, how much did you charge for your consultation? And the attorney said, $450 for 2 questions. And by the way, what is your second question? so if you're okay with that, come on, ask your questions.
I thought one of the things as an American national, as an American national, it is your right that you can refuse to give them your passwords for your electronics, including cell phone and laptops.
Very good question. So if I'm an American citizen, I can refuse to give my password when the confiscation is being done, when they're wanting to search your property. Like you saw in the video, that person was a U.S. citizen. Okay? The advisory is, now this is a controversial issue, all right? And you're welcome to disagree with me on it. But this is my opinion, that when you're being searched, okay, when you come to the U.S. border, the customs has a right to search you. And if you refuse to give your password, they can confiscate your property. So, you can duke it out with them, but it's not fun losing your laptop. We consider our laptops, our phones, some of these things like an extension of ourselves. It's like an arm. I don't want to give it away. I can't give it away. So with the passwords, there's some precautions you can take. Like that was mentioned, number 1, get the name of the supervisor. Okay. Number 2, get the name of the person who is taking this stuff from you, and their badge number. And 3, ask for
receipt.
Yeah, receipt, and the phone, and the person who's going to be inspecting it, ask for their name and badge number. So you can do these things, and what else can we do as a backup?
Before we leave, you can back up your documents. So, maybe put everything that's on your laptop on a USB drive or on some sort of backup. I don't know the technical terms for technology. It's not my thing, but you can back it up so that you have a backup copy of it. Because they may delete things, you never know what's going to happen.
Very good. So that's my take on it. The thing is that by taking these precautions that were mentioned, okay, what you do is you hold the officer accountable. Because they know now, once you have this information from them, that if something goes missing from your file, then they're going to be answerable to you. So take these precautions. Yes?
The question is regarding the citizenship, when you have said that they have a right to have a lawyer at the airport. How did it apply for this thing when we are traveling and we just want to ask them for that, or does we have our own lawyer? That's the lawyer or our lawyer?
The lawyer does not have to be provided by the government. Okay, it's not like in a criminal case where they have the obligation to provide you. You would have to get your own, of course. And at the airport, it can be impractical to get immediate access to a lawyer, right? So if you have an attorney, keep their card with you. Beyond that, it may take some time to get a lawyer. Who else? Yes, Sister Fatima.
The questions are translated for her.
Oh, okay, shukran.
So her question is, she said her brother is about to apply for citizenship and her mom is about to renew her green card. Shall they wait or shall they go ahead with that?
So our recommendation is not to wait, to go ahead with it, just because there's a ban on people applying. The government is saying they're not going to reach a final decision on these cases, but we still feel that we should apply and we should continue pursuing our rights and trying to fight it. And we think we can win some.
I agree. So the advice that we're giving is that don't hold your application just because of the executive order, because the way they're applying this rule is not that they're going to reject your application. They will process it all the way up until the decision time, and then that's when they're going to hold it. Okay? So there's no, and by the time your case gets to the decision stage, the executive ban may be dissolved. Like today, like a couple of days ago, the court said, that this executive ban is not going to apply. So we don't know what the rule is going to be by the time your case gets to the decision stage. So might as well just file it.
Thank you.
Oh, we're going to do it in this order. We have Sister Samira, and then we have Brother Javid, and then we have that gentleman there in that order, okay?
My question is, this whole thing, is it affecting all Muslim people? It doesn't matter where they are from? Like, even Moroccan people? Is it affecting them?
Yeah, so I think it is affecting all Muslims, especially if you have a name that appears Muslim or something along those lines. So if your name's Ahmed, I don't think it matters where you're from. And they're probably going to pull you aside in the airport and question you. You're probably going to be taken into secondary inspection. So I think it does in a way affect all Muslims, not just people from the 7 countries. And also we did mention earlier that the 7 countries, that list is not exhaustive. More countries may be added to that list. So the executive order made it so that more countries could be added at any time.
Yeah, I agree. Even though there are only 7 countries listed, but I think that, and in reality, even people who are not nationals of those countries are being profiled as they come in, and they are being questioned. So I think everybody should be ready for screening and questioning. Be prepared, know your rights about what you need to answer, what you don't need to answer.
Yeah, but
okay, we have Brother Javid.
I was born in Pakistan, but I'm an American citizen and Pakistani citizen. If I go visit my family and come back, how would that affect me being an American citizen? And if somebody is a green card holder in my family, how would they be treated coming back from Pakistan?
So a lot of Pakistani community members have this question, that what about Pakistan? Right now, Pakistan has not been added. Hopefully, it will not be added. But right now, as of the time we speak right now, there's a halt on the ban from the court. A nationwide halt on the ban. Now, the Trump administration plans to challenge the court order and to appeal it and to get a stay of this halt. So that means if the Trump administration is successful, then the ban may be on again. Okay, so some of this is like changing. काफी ये law जो है ये change हो जा रहा है. Okay, तो हर हफ्ते हमें जो ये देखना पड़ता है कि क्या होगा. We have to watch week by week, day by day. We're monitoring this for you, and we will keep bringing you the updates. By the way, if you would like to receive updates on this thing as it changes, please send an email. My email address is on that flyer that you have in the card.
Another way is to like the Facebook page, Nejame Law, because we're constantly updating it.
Excellent idea.
So, like our Facebook page, because we're constantly on there as new news comes out, as a new executive order is signed, as anything changes in the law, we're constantly updating our Facebook page to notify our followers.
Yes.
What was the order?
So
the green card holder who goes back to Pakistan wants to come back.
Right now, the ban is off. There is no ban. But when do they plan on traveling?
Soon.
So tell me before they travel. I'll tell you what the law is at that time. This thing is changing daily, I'm telling you. Okay, and the third person.
As you know, there are a lot of foreign medical graduates who are doing residency in the United States, and they're on J1 visa. That J1 visa is renewed every year. They have to go back to Pakistan to get it renewed, or they can go to Canada or Mexico. What do you suggest about that?
Excellent question. Inshallah, I plan on doing some lectures for our physicians community as well. And is Pakistan that the question relates to? Like right now the ban is off, but it may be reinstated as this thing goes through the judicial circus that we're seeing. So right now the ban is off, but I am going to be doing some presentations to the Pakistani physicians community and also to the Arab physicians community about this subject. And there are several things that we can do to protect ourselves, the physicians can. One thing is that the matching that occurs in March, April time. So the 90-day period of the order should be extended by then. So that's one thing that may save you. The second thing is that there are things that we can argue within the order. For example, there is a national interest exception. So we can argue for physicians that they do bring a national interest. Okay? And there's some other strategies, a list of strategies that I'll be discussing, inshallah, for the J1 people, because it is very important. I was reading there's about 240,000 physicians, including residents and so on in the U.S., and there's a substantial number, I think, in 2013, from what I read, there was something like 12 to 15,000 just in 2013 for the Pakistani physicians. And then we have the Arab physicians, we got Egyptians, we've got Syrian physicians, so the impact, we don't want the community to be impacted by the loss of physicians. And that's one of the problems with this executive order. It is so broad, it doesn't make exemptions. It just tells you how this order was not well thought out. Right? I mean, it didn't even make an exception for those Iraqis who served with the U.S. military. And then many politicians have to write letters up and down to the White House saying, to Congress, make an exception for these. So this order is very broad, like I said, and so we're going to fight it through our legal process.
Visa is renewed every year.
So the ban applies. The way the DHS is applying it is at all levels. They're applying it not only to entries, not only to the visa issuances, the DOS is applying it to that, the DHS is also applying it to naturalizations, adjustment of status, they're applying it to change of status, extension, they're applying it to everything. So that's why it's very important that we continue these legal battles in court, because it's just not right. It's hurting a lot of people. Yes, Sister Viva, assalamu alaikum. Yes, thank you.
Thank you for doing this. This is extremely helpful to the community. at many levels. It's going to allay a lot of fears and rumors, because a lot of rumors are going around. My question is, apart from, this is a dynamic situation and we really don't know, its ban is on again and off again and on again. We don't know how long this game will go on. But on that random picking for secondary inspections, that would go on. That's been almost a norm for quite a bit now. So what is the most reasonable sequence of actions? Like for instance, if I'm picked for secondary questions, can I sit there and ask for an attorney, if I do have an attorney, first, even before they ask me questions, or do they have, I know they have rights, so, and so do I as a citizen, so does my right as a citizen to ask for attorney supersede their right to ask me questions first?
Thank you. Good question. Yazen, would you like to take that one?
Yes, I can. Sister, I believe that you do have a right to an attorney because you are a U.S. citizen, so you can invoke that right as soon as you feel you need to. So you can. But the government also has an interest in protecting the country, right, and citizens, and so they are permitted to do secondary inspections, and I don't believe there's really a way around that. As far as I know, there isn't. If you're taking into secondary inspection, you need to comply with them. But again, you know your rights now, you know which questions to answer and which ones you don't have to answer. So if they start asking you about political opinion, religious things, you don't have to answer those questions. You invoke your right to remain silent. You invoke your right to an attorney. If they're asking you questions about your identity, you need to answer those questions. If they're asking you questions about your travel, where did you come from, you need to answer those questions. So that's how we're treating this situation right now.
Giving them my social media.
So Shahzad and I have slightly different opinions on this, and that's okay. He believes, I believe he mentioned earlier, that you should go ahead and give the password, correct? Because they may hold on to your laptop and things like that. I believe that they're going to hold on to it possibly regardless, whether you give them the password or not. So I'm of the opinion that you should not give your passwords.
And then wait for the attorney to talk on that behalf.
Yes, you can do that. Doesn't mean they won't keep your laptop or your cell phone. They still may do so. But I'm just of the opinion that you don't need to give your password.
There you go.
Are you saying that even though you do with your passport and take your badge number and everything, that they will actually hold on to it? I mean, it's not like they're going to check it and turn it back the same day, no?
They may.
Once they ask for it, it's gone? Is that what you're telling me?
They have a right to confiscate your property.
Even with you being compliant with everything, then finally nothing?
Yeah, I mean, they can, and then that's why you take, there's a difference between what they can do and what they should do, right?
Oh, okay, yeah.
So when you're there at the customs, they have relatively a lot of power over what they can do. But there are things you should do to protect yourself. So that's why we suggested earlier that, get this information from the customs. Get their badge numbers, get their names, get the supervisor.
Will they give it to us if we ask for it? They might not even comply.
You try, you ask for it. Okay. Now, sometimes this has to go an extra step. If your rights are violated, and you do have to consult with a lawyer and then discuss how to challenge this legally. So it depends on at what stage it gets resolved. You had a question?
I was just asking for the secondary checks.
Yeah, we're talking, secondary. You see, when you go through the airport, there are several inspection points. One is the initial inspection where they ask you for your passport, and if they're satisfied, they let you through. Or if they're not, they want more inquiry or questioning, they send you to secondary inspection. And that's where, you're considered possibly detained, and they can ask you, and that's the video that you saw in the airport. That was secondary inspection being done. Now, there's also a deferred inspection. So sometimes if let's say they see some issue, like you're a green card holder and you've been absent from the U.S. for too long, and they believe that you abandoned your residency, they can refer you to deferred inspection. They have a beautiful facility at Tradeport Drive. Just joking. but it is there. At Trade Court Drive, they will take your green card. They will give you a white card. It's called parole. They will parole you into the United States instead of admitting you. And they'll say, go home. We'll send you. We want you to come to this deferred inspection office on a certain date. And you come over there, and then they're going to ask you a bunch of further questions to resolve whether you abandoned your residency or not. Same thing with criminal convictions. If they see a hit that, you've been arrested, then they can require you to come at that deferred inspection point where they're going to try to resolve the admission issue. And if it doesn't get resolved there either, they're going to send you to an immigration judge, okay? And that's where the judge will decide whether your permanent residency should be taken away or not. Okay, just so simple.
Is it for that question, the same question? Is it affecting even the older people that be being out for more than 6 months out of the state, and they have a green card and will be coming back? What should you do? And they don't speak English, so what they're...
Yeah, the thing is that when the law says with regards to permanent residence that if somebody is absent from the U.S. for more than 6 months, then they are considered to have abandoned their residency. They're presumed. The presumption is. Now, the thing with presumption is that it's kind of like a seesaw, okay? So the presumption is against you, but then you can try to tip the scale in your favor and prove that, no, I did not abandon. The only reason why I was absent for so long is because maybe, health conditions, family relative, I was looking after them, and I also have ties in the U.S. I have a house here, I've got family here, I've got a job here, so I actually did not have the intent to abandon. So you can present your case at all points, of this, to the deferred inspection, to the court, and so on. And I've litigated these cases, many times, actually for a Moroccan individual. I went to court for them, and we had a whole trial, and the government was actually arguing against us. And they said, and even though he's a 70-year-old male, he went over there because his wife had a medical condition, skin condition, psoriasis, really, really bad, and he was looking after her, but the government was arguing for his deportation. And then we presented a lot of case law saying that we don't have the burden, that's actually the government that does, because our client is a permanent resident, and so the government has the burden. And then ultimately the court agreed with us and ruled in our favor, terminated the deportation proceedings.
Thank you very much for your opinion. I'm just asking the question that the people in a pipeline for applying the immigration, citizenship, they might get delayed in this process right now, what the situation is going on. And second thing is that I have applied, I'm a citizen, and my wife is also a citizen. We applied for my son, who is 17 years old. I have applied in 600. Can I apply simultaneously for his passport at the same time? Or it's not possible only, they can apply only in 600. If suppose I'm applying for the passport, so that they can, I can make his green card or at the time of biometrics, if the process is going on for the citizenship, for the certificate. So that what can I do for, if they ask me for the green card at the time, for example, I'm applying now for passport. My question is that can I apply simultaneously, even I'm applied for the certificate, citizenship certificate, can I apply for the passport too?
Which nationality for everybody? So
we are the U.S. citizen. He's resident.
I'm sorry, what is their original nationality?
Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
Okay. Want me to take it? All right. So, Pakistan is not on the list, and also the ban is on hold. So right now it's favorable. Okay. With regard to the executive ban, the way the Department of Homeland Security was treating it while it was still in effect, is that they were saying that we will take your naturalization application. We will process it. We will have you do your biometrics. We will call you for the interview. We will give you the naturalization exam, okay, the English and civics test. But in the end, we're not going to make a decision on it because of the executive ban. So that's how they were treating it. So what we are telling our clients is, don't hold your application just because of the executive ban, because your application will still be processed. They're just going to hold it in the end. Okay, this is for the nationals of those listed countries. Okay, so we're doing that, and so that's what we're telling our people. Now, right now, the ban may not even apply because of that court order, but again, it's changing day to day. But again, I think the only way to know for sure is when you get to that decision stage, then see what the law is at that time. Okay, but they should not be rejecting or denying your application, because the ban only calls for suspending, meaning they're going to hold it. They're only suspending. Okay, so go ahead and apply. Of course, with anything you apply, you have to consult with an attorney, even before the ban, because you want to make sure that you meet the legal requirements and you don't get any surprises. Okay, but don't hold it just because of the ban. And then with regard to your question about the N600, it sounds like the child is a derivative citizen, and yeah, because it's under 18 and parents are citizens. The N600 is the one that is filed. What I don't like about the N600 is that the USCIS is taking a lifetime to adjudicate those. They're taking forever. So that's why you're considering the passport option, as you should.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure how long the Department of State will take, but I think they're going to be relatively quicker.
Yeah, so they can apply simultaneously? Like
Yeah, I don't see a problem.
No problem, right?
Yeah, you could even do only the passport and not the N600. So
yeah, sorry if the biometrics for my son, they call me. And, so
they shouldn't take away the green card because the decision on his citizenship has not been made yet.
All right.
So it wouldn't be right to take it. All right? But of course, always make a copy of it.
Yeah.
Who was next? Yes, John.
They check in airport, they stop everybody, and everybody, citizen, non-citizen, Muslim, non-Muslim, or certain people. The second question is if somebody, for example, I saw that somebody arrested and some reason and dismissed it, so nothing. And this is affected injury or something?
Sure, good question, yes.
So in regards to your first question, they can stop anybody, right? It doesn't matter what religion, what your status is, whether you're coming in as a green card holder, U.S. citizen, they can stop anybody and ask more questions. I did hear something interesting from CARE. Well, you may have heard of CARE. So Muslims make up 1% of Americans, right? However, these random inspections, 50% of the people stopped tend to be Muslim. So just a random fact that I heard recently. But yes, it's supposed to be random, and they are allowed to do anybody. They're allowed to question anybody. That's part of their duty for when people are coming into the border for security purposes. And what was the second question? Can you repeat that?
For example, if somebody arrested some reason, a mistake, and then dismiss it, is that affected for injury or that's
I don't follow. Shahzad, do you follow?
Say that again.
Something about being arrested.
If somebody arrested for some reason before,
yeah,
and then dismiss it, there's no charge.
Oh.
And then this is affected injury or something.
So
I saw with this, not even.
Okay. So it depends on your status also, brother, right? Because if you're a U.S. citizen and you've previously been arrested or have a conviction or something like that, that won't affect your entry into the United States. However, if you're a green card holder and you've experienced some criminal issues, that may be a different story. And it depends on what type of crime it was under what statute it falls. And there's a whole process of determining how it will affect you. Does that make sense? Good.
My question is, I applied for my mom for a green card, and she changed her mind, and now I want to do extension for her visa. Did I can do this, or if I take her to Mexico to I don't know what.
So you said you were thinking about applying for her green card?
I applied already last year, sorry. Then she changed her mind. Now I want to just do extension for her visa.
Okay.
How about Mexico if I can work there?
Mexico. Did you check with the U.S. Embassy in Mexico to see if they're willing to take the visa application?
No.
Because she doesn't have any residency in Mexico, right? I presume. So here's the thing, that you have to be careful about forum shopping. You know, forum shopping is when you're trying to select which embassy you want to go to because you think it might be more favorable. And generally, the Department of State discourages that. Most embassies say that if you want us to review your application, then you got to have some ties to this country. Okay? So if your mom doesn't have any ties to the country, I doubt that Ciudad Juarez embassy, the U.S. embassy there, is going to take it. So where is she right now, though?
She's with me.
She's here. Okay. So is it because she wants to travel? Is that why she's not wanting to go through with the residency?
Yeah.
Did you apply for her travel document?
No.
What country is she from?
Morocco.
From Morocco, okay. So one thing is, consider applying for the travel document because that takes about 90 days right now, which can change, but right now about 90 days. So if she can get that travel authorization, she'll be a little bit happier. You know, she won't be. I think she wants to go to Morocco to visit her family, right?
Right now she wanna do extension for her visa.
She wanna stay here longer.
But she does want her residency?
No.
No, she doesn't. Okay, so she wants to go back.
She wanna stay here. Okay, her visa
Only
is,
for a little bit of time.
it's almost expired,
but
but
that
she
means
wanna
wants
stay
to
here
go
more.
back. She doesn't want to live here. She only wants to be here temporarily. So the thing is, she has to decide whether she wants to live here, because guess what? Once she gets her green card, you cannot be absent from the U.S. for 6 months continuously, you know, under some exceptions. So if she is not ready to live here yet, then maybe consider canceling your visa, your application process. The other thing is that once you get your green card and you do want to live abroad for, let's say, 2 years or so, there's something called a re-entry permit. So you can consider that once she gets her green card here, get her a 2-year re-entry permit so that she can come back in with ease. Okay? So that second thing that you can consider, if she doesn't want to do any of this at all, yeah, you can withdraw the application and apply. Now, when she applies for an extension, is she still within the 6-month period?
Not yet for extension. I applied for green card.
Yeah.
Then they sent me later, they said, I have to call them back what they want to do.
Yeah.
But she don't want to stay for the green card. She want to just extend for 2
I
more months.
understand. My question is, she came here as a visitor, right?
Yeah, she has a visa for 10
When
years.
does that, yeah, but when they extend her for a certain amount of time on the passport, when she came?
Yeah.
6 months?
Yeah,
When does that expire?
in April.
In April. So she's still in lawful stay. So yeah, and she can file for extension, but she may have a problem because the USCIS is going to look at the extension application and they're going to say, oh, your daughter's petitioning for you for a green card, so you don't have non-immigrant intent anymore. And so what you're going to have to do is probably, yes, withdraw your application and also explain in your extension application that, look, my daughter withdrew her case. I don't want permanent residency. I only want to visit. And be very specific about the reasons for why you want to stay here for a visit. And also you have to prove that you have ties in Morocco, that she's going to go back, and all that. Okay? So it gets a little complicated, but you can try. All right? Answers it? Okay. Yeah. There was one gentleman here. Sorry, we got to go this way.
My name is Ahmed. I appreciate your service to the community, especially in this critical time when everybody going through the roller coaster.
Thank you, sir.
I will give you a general scenario. I am US and you are my lawyer here in Florida. But for some reason, I am stopped to JFK or even further to Dubai. And you said as a citizen, I have the access to lawyer. But from there, how I can select you? Is there any jurisdiction? They can say, no, this is not the jurisdiction of the Florida lawyer. Do we have to have a license in that state? You are in New York, do you have to have a lawyer from New York? That kind of things. Or even I in Dubai, what I can do.
So in your scenario, is the problem occurring at the pre-clearance?
Yes. Yes, for some reason they stop.
Pre-clearance.
Then I can demand access to my lawyer. And you are my lawyer here in Florida. So what is the process? How I can do it?
The process that you have our number. Our number is easy to remember.
I have your card in my wallet.
Yeah, but even an easier number, if you guys can announce our fancy uniform.
But is there any jurisdiction? Do we have to have a license of New York to represent me?
No, immigration is federal, it is national. So we represent clients in every state.
So Shahzad was, the gentleman was asking about our phone number. Our phone number is 407-5 million. I'm serious.
407-500-0000. You'll never forget.
407-500-4.
That lady has a question. I think she's been waiting for her.
Promise.
In our recent travel, we were traveling on one vacation in December. My daughter, who was 13 years old, she's 13 years old, she was been stopped twice.
What's your immigration status and your daughter's?
Also.
Yeah,
we were two kids with us, two kids and me and my husband who were traveling. She was stopped again for the second check. They checked her hand or something. And the second time that she was stopped when we were arriving here, they checked her hand. She was at the other side, other scanner that she went to, and I was at this scanner, and me and my husband were on this scanner. And she was checked, and I was busy taking the luggages off and everything. And she was checked, and they said they see a trace of explosive in her hand. And then they took her to the side, and she was checked again. And I figured that out later after they left her. And is there anything that she was underage? Is there anything else that they need to ask me before they do things like that with her?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, when it comes to our children, we become concerned. We are very protective of our children. And I would be concerned too if I were you, if my child was, open to that kind of screening. Now, how could a child plan any kind of explosive or something like that? Nonetheless, when it comes to the security issues, they do have the right to do the inspection, and they have a special procedure. So, for example, if they want to check traces, they have a certain liquid or powder that they run.
Yeah, they do something on her hands.
Yeah, they do that, and they inspect it to make sure that there is nothing dangerous. So, that's the job of the CBP to do that. You've been waiting for a while?
My question is, like the people already who are here on temporary visas, like L1, J1 or H1, what we are hearing in the blogs, the attorneys, they are circulating, indicating that if anybody has committed any minor crime with respect to any traffic violations or even blocking some sidewalks, they will be arrested, and if they are on temporary visa, their removal proceedings will be started and they may be deported before their cases are resolved. So if we hire attorney, what attorney can do and cannot do?
And this is a very good question, and this is one of the problems with the executive order, that it is so broad, okay, and generally under the Immigration and Nationality Act, when you look at section 237, it says generally people who are convicted, non-U.S. citizens who are convicted of certain types of crimes are deportable, okay? Generally, that's the rule. You have to be convicted. But this executive order, it sets a new standard. It says even those who have been charged or those who have been found to have committed certain offenses that tantamount to a deportable offense So you don't even have to be convicted, and you could still be deportable under the language of this executive order. And again, I think that our courts will find these provisions to be wrong, unconstitutional, unenforceable. So that's the thing. So my personal opinion on it is that I don't think a person will be deported for a traffic violation. I don't think it's going to happen. The order may say so, but I don't think that the courts are going to allow the enforcement of that thing.
How about domestic violence?
Domestic violence is a deportable offense if you are convicted under the Immigration and Nationality Act. Under the INA, it's a deportable offense. However, there could be relief. So if somebody, by the way, we do deportation defense. I've done hundreds of deportation cases, literally, since I started practicing 17 years ago. And so, just because somebody might be deportable doesn't mean they're going to get deported. There is something called relief, where you can file for cancellation of removal or adjustment of status. And also we can make technical legal arguments, that even though this offense falls seemingly under the deportation offenses, list of offenses, but our offense that we're looking at under the Florida statute is different, and so it doesn't fit one of those grounds. So there's a lot of creative lawyering that can be done in representing people who are in deportation proceedings. Yes,
if you're a permanent resident not related to those countries that I've mentioned, right? And if you do get stopped, and they do start questioning you as a Muslim, do you still have rights to the legal system?
Yeah, you do.
Can they still enforce?
Yazen, I'd like you to, because I think you already covered that one, so please repeat your advice. So if you have somebody who is not national of one of those countries, right, but you do get stopped at the airport for questioning.
No, the reason why I'm asking is because it's saying that if you have dual citizenship, now I'm a permanent resident and I have British citizenship and Zimbabwean. So if I'm traveling, can they stop me at the border and say, hey, look, can they hold me to a side, or does it have to apply to those countries?
They can stop you even before the executive order went into effect.
Okay.
Yeah, and anybody who who is entering our borders is subject to questioning and inspection.
But will I have a right to attend you? Or?
Yeah, so you do have a right to counsel. Okay. Again, at the airports, the right is somewhat limited. Okay. But you do. And then also you don't have to answer certain questions that we talked about. As a non-U.S. citizens have more rights at the border than non-U.S. citizens. Okay. Yes, sir.
And my question is, if your name is flagged every time, is there anything you can do beforehand, traveling or anything?
Yeah, yes. Your name is flagged.
Every time.
I don't know of anything that you can do.
Your name is flagged. There are a few preventative things that you can do. One is there's an application you can file with the TSA. Okay, and you can go to their website and you can explain in that application the situation that you're being flagged and so on. And a lot of times that TSA application will resolve the problem. There's also one on the DHS website, DHS Trip. Okay, I think it's dhstrip.gov if I'm not mistaken, but you can Google it, DHS Trip. Also, you can talk to your lawyer, okay, maybe, because each case is different. And so the attorney may be able to see, what's going on and maybe help you try to resolve it. There's also something called global entry. You might have heard of it. I've not dealt with it much, but I've heard from some community members that when you get your placement done on the global entry in advance, they do like pre-clearance of you and you're good. They'll give you like first class treatment and everything. You don't have to go through as much. You already have that. Okay. But I think they'll reach out to us afterwards and we'll try to see what some of the things that can be done. Okay? Yeah. Yes, sir.
I have a question. This is regarding somebody traveling on an B2 visa while their I-130 is already like in process, and they travel on a B2 visa.
Good question. Very common question. So you have a family member, right, who is in which country?
India.
India. Okay. They want to come and travel. Okay. Let's say you petitioned for your mom. Okay. And you're a U.S. citizen. You filed an I-130 alien relative petition to classify your mom as the parent of a U.S. citizen. So the thing is that in the eyes of the immigration law, these two things are possibly contradictory. Okay? Because you're applying for their permanent residency, meaning they want to live in the U.S. Meanwhile, they want to come and visit you, and under the visit visa rules, you only come to visit temporarily, not to live here. And your intent has to be to go back. So how do you handle that? There's no one answer that fits everybody's situation. I treat this on a case-by-case basis and look at the situation of my client and advise them accordingly. So if somebody, for example, has already been to the U.S., they've already come here to visit, then after a certain cooling off period, I may say, let's go ahead and file the adjustment of status. If the I-130 is pending, but the mom is overseas, has not yet traveled, then I may advise, maybe don't travel here right now, because that I-130 maybe has a negative factor by the customs. So maybe wait for the whole consular processing to be done. So different situations, and we have to see. If you have more questions on that, please contact us afterwards, and then we can give some more specific advice for your particular case. Who else do we have? Yes. Oh, can we take, which one?
Yeah.
Brother Uncle.
Yeah. Assalamualaikum. I wanted to know whether this H1B rule executive order which they are going to sign in India is going to apply to the existing H1B people already in US or only to the new applications that are going to come in?
First of all, the ban that has already passed, you know, that is being applied very broadly by the DHS to include all applications. Okay? But again, the court order has put a hold on that ban for now. For the new executive order in the pipeline, it is not specifically setting the rules for H-1Bs. What it is calling for is for an evaluation of H-1B cases to determine how it impacts the U.S. workers. So that's what it's calling for. It's calling for the DHS to evaluate those, the policy, to evaluate the policy. So we'll see what rules come down the road. And inshallah, when they come down, then we'll be updating. Okay, going back to the doctor.
Question regarding domestic travel, like Muslims who the US citizens traveling back and forth and business travel, are there any concerns for them?
The which travel did you say?
Domestic travel.
Domestic travel?
Yeah.
For domestic travel, it should not be generally an issue. The only thing is be careful. Like if you're going to a cruise in Puerto Rico or Bahamas, you know, you may encounter the customs on the way back. So keep that in mind. Otherwise, like if you're flying from here to New York, the ban should not affect that. Before everybody goes, I want to ask Brother Yazen. He came out. He's a member of the Pakistani Christian community here, and I thank him for his support for coming out. And I would like him to say something as a member of the community.
Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure to be here, and I appreciate the efforts of my dear brother Shahzad, whom I've known for the last 8 years. And I have been to interfaith dinners here, and I know the Imam very well. He's a good friend. I really appreciate my Pakistani and non-Pakistani Muslim community. And I always say to everybody, we are all the creation of Almighty God. Doesn't matter what we believe in. That is a personal thing. If you want to follow Islamic faith or Jewish faith, we live in a free country. Thank God for the freedom we have as a human being. Can we say that amen to that? Amen. Amen. Zor se. Amen. And thank God we have rights here that we can use our human right and use the services of our dear friends to represent us if we have any problem or any issue. And I appreciate Imam Tariq Rashid, who has been very kind and gracious by connecting with the other people of other faith. We live in a pluralistic society. It's a multi-faith society. And I was a minority in Pakistan, I'm still a minority in America. Doesn't matter what my faith is because of my color. And I've lived in America for 37 years. Have I had problems here with different people? Sure. But you know what? Life, in America, life is much better, and I tell you that. True?
It's very true.
Than many, many countries of the world. And I've traveled at least 30 countries. In the Far East, in Asia, Europe, and I still think why people want to come to America, because of the freedom they have here in this country and the opportunities we have. Sure, we have politics going on, but thank God we have constitutional rights also to fight for our rights.
Thank you. That's a perfect note to end on. Thank you, Brother Javed. So with that, we will close for today. But Yazen and I are here. So if you want to meet with us, we'd love to meet with you. Any questions you have, we'll take it face to face. Okay? Thank you very much for coming and meeting with us. Assalamu alaikum.